2 patties, 3 buns, and a suspiciously zesty secret sauce. It is #1 on the McDonald's menu and #1 in our hearts, the Big Mac. While it may be one of the most recognizable burgers in existence, McDonald's Big Mac didn't become famous overnight. The majestic menu item had to go through a corporate approval process, some ingredient shakeups, and a few name changes before becoming the fast food phenomenon it is today. Today, we're telling you all about the history of the sandwich that put the Golden Arches on the map, the Big Mac. But before we chow down on some delicious hamburger history, make sure you subscribe to the Weird History Food channel. Then head to the comments and tell us what other iconic food items you would like to hear more about.
7 great ingredients working together to make one great taste. 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, cheese, lettuce, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Get the idea?
Okay, let's see. 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Oh yeah, I nailed it. Despite its popularity today, the Big Mac did not make its way to McDonald's menu until over a decade after the fast food joint had been established. McDonald's had already perfected their tried-and-true burger recipe by 1957, and they were so incredibly popular, the powers that be were reluctant to change anything about their menu. Why paint a mustache on the Mona Lisa? Those single-layer burgers continued to be the main staple in McDonald's franchises all over the country. That is, until the good steelworkers of Uniontown, Pennsylvania decided that they wanted more bang for their buck. In an effort to make sure nobody left the restaurant hungry, the proprietor of this particular franchise would embark on a new sandwich recipe that would eventually become the Big Mac we all know and love today. Michael James Jim Delegati had a problem to solve. He owned a restaurant with just one kind of burger, but his customers wanted more. No, they needed more. But this was not Jim's first time at the fast food rodeo, and if anyone could find a solution, it was him. For reference, a fast food rodeo is the same as a regular rodeo, just with more enlarged cholesterol-filled hearts. After serving in World War II, Delegati worked in a bunch of drive-in restaurants and would eventually go on to open nearly 50 McDonald's restaurants across Pennsylvania. Despite running a store successfully for a decade, Jim started hearing grumbles from both mouths and stomachs alike as the hard-working steel mill laborers would come into the eatery at the end of a long shift. It seemed the rinky-dink burgers currently being served at McDonald's weren't enough for the hungry clientele. With the nearby delis and diners for inspiration on how a heftier sandwich is crafted, Jim developed a double-decker burger that he was sure would satisfy his customers. But before we go on with Jim's story, let's see where his inspiration came from. When McDonald's was first getting its footing in the restaurant game in the 1950s, they extracted both stiff competition and genuine inspiration from one of the more prominent restaurants at the time, Bob's Big Boy. Founded in 1936 in California, Bob's Big Boy had established a comfortable reputation of serving delicious food while expanding across the country. Big Boy founder Bob Wyan is believed to have created the first double-decker sandwich at the restaurant in 1937 at the request of a hungry marching band. But let's be honest, this wasn't the first double-decker sandwich. Those have existed ever since the first Hangover. The burger, eventually dubbed the Big Boy, became the foundation for the whole Bob's Big Boy establishment. And his signature double-decker sandwich did not go unnoticed by competing restaurants. The Big Boy Super Sandwich idea would eventually inspire many copycats, including Delegati, who added his own flourishes to create the McDonald's staple we know today. Creation of the world's most prominent burger didn't happen all at once. There were a few hurdles to leap over before the sandwich would become a nationwide sensation. Not very tall hurdles. You're not running too much track after spending your lunch hour with the Big Mac. The creation of the sandwich came with some caveats. Delegati was only able to make his super stacked sandwich using ingredients already available at McDonald's, which he did, for the most part. Using the beef from the burgers sold at McDonald's and the Bob's Big Boy as inspiration, Jim added chopped up onions, cheese, and pickles. He then sourced the sesame seed bun from a local bakery and double-sliced it to fill out the rest of the stack. The sandwich was starting to take shape, and our mouths are starting to water just talking about it. Delegati spent some time perfecting his recipe, and by 1967, he was ready to unveil his tasty creation to his hungry customers. With the basic composition of the burger nailed down, the stage was set for the double-decker sandwich to premiere at the Southwestern Pennsylvania Burger Shop. The original release was an immediate success. Advertised as the meal disguised as a sandwich, Delegatti's Mammoth Burger sold originally for only 45 cents. The sandwich sold so well in that first year that it caught the attention of McDonald's CEO Ray Kroc. By 1968, McDonald's added it to all of its stores' menus across the United States. Eventually, the popularity would extend to stores in over 100 countries all over the world. But one major question remained. What were they going to call this thing?
Big Mac's a Big Mac, but they call it Le Big Mac.
Le Big Mac.
Big Mac was not originally used for the double-decker sandwich that took the world by storm. When it was first sold in Pennsylvania, the sandwich had the moniker of Big Mick, which sounds like an Irish boxer. The name never sat right with the higher-ups at McDonald's. Such a regal sandwich deserved a much flashier name, and a few duds were tried on for size. Designations such as the Aristocrat and Blue Ribbon Burger were given a trial run, but neither was able to stick for very long. The Aristocrat? Really? That reminds me of a joke.
A talent agent is sitting in his office. A family walks in.
Oh, yeah, never mind. History was made when a harried executive rushing to an advertising meeting asked a 21-year-old secretary what she would name the sandwich. Esther Glickstein Rose gave him the name Big Mac and promptly went back to her work. Though the name was laughed out of the room at the time, Big Mac eventually stuck. And while not credited or compensated with the naming at the time, Esther was formally recognized for her achievement in 1985. We hope she at least got a free sandwich out of the deal. When Delegatti first created the Big Mac, he needed to distinguish it from Bob's Big Boy Burger. To do that, he added some pickles and onions, but also went to work on creating the perfect tangy sauce, the ingredients to which were a secret for decades. Speculation had been going on for years that the sauce was simple, over-the-counter Thousand Island dressing. But it is not. As the years went on, it became harder for fans to nail down the exact ingredients because the recipe kept changing. You see, Delegatti had his own version of the sauce when he premiered the burger and spent years fine-tuning it. And when McDonald's officially took over the Big Mac, they made several variations of the sauce. It's just like that old saying, a successful sandwich has many fathers. In 1972, they created the cleverly named Big Mac Sauce Recipe 72, which was the standard until McDonald's changed the recipe again in 1991, only to change it once again in 2004. All the while, the recipe remained secret, never to be revealed. Not really. It turns out the sauce is simply a mixture of mayonnaise, sweet pickle relish, and yellow mustard, along with some spices. The whole process was demonstrated by executive chef Dan Kudrow in a YouTube video in 2012. But people are still so obsessed with Big Mac's secret sauce that bottles of the stuff have sold on eBay for thousands of dollars. In that case, I got a bridge to sell you. A bridge made of tangy Big Mac sauce. The Big Mac has evolved quite a bit from its humble beginnings as a heftier snack for hungry workers. Not only is it sold in over 120 countries and territories worldwide, but the US alone sells over 500 million Big Macs every single year. Even if you have never eaten a Big Mac in your life, you cannot deny the impact it has had on popular culture.
I'll have the Big Mac, please.
Great choice.
For instance, if we were to say the words, "2 all-beef patties," how many of you are able to sing the rest of the song?
2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun.
2 whole... Well, what was that word again?
For that earworm we just put in your head, you can thank Keith Reinhardt, who created the Big Mac jingle in 1974. The catchy tune succeeded in making the Big Mac even more popular than it already was, which at that time was pretty popular.
2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun.
2 all beef patties.
Pretty good deal for a song composed of nothing but ingredients. Your move, Kentucky Fried Chicken. On second thought, scratch that. Weird History food viewers will remember how bad an idea it is to cross the kernel. The influence of the American Big Mac has also inspired knockoff versions and variations all around the world. In places like India, where they don't eat beef, you can get yourself the Maharaja Mac, which is made with mutton. Or head down to Australia where you can purchase the Son of Mac, which is a Big Mac but without the middle bun in the center. If cheese isn't your thing, stop by Israel where a kosher version without the cheese can be found.
Here you go, Mr. President.
God bless Israel.
You can even get a bigger Big Mac up in Alaska called the McKinley Mac, which features quarter-pounder patties instead of the normal Mac patties. By the time the Big Mac turned 40, McDonald's was reportedly selling around 17 of them every second. Today, the Big Mac is more popular than ever, second in sales only to McDonald's fries, which are the savory mortar to the delicious bricks being laid in your arteries. Billions have been sold across the world ever since one man in Pennsylvania decided he wanted more out of his burgers and demanded better. Worldwide sales of the Big Mac are so important that in 1986, The Economist created something called the Big Mac Index. The availability of the Big Mac in so many countries makes for an excellent benchmark of current exchange rates across the world. And not to throw double-decker stones, but we're not seeing the Whopper Index anywhere. If all this Big Mac lore is particularly interesting to you, may we suggest visiting the Big Mac Museum in North Huntingdon, Pennsylvania. And yes, that is absolutely a real thing. There you can view wall-mounted timelines of the Big Mac's career over the decades, as well as toys and memorabilia dating almost as far back as the Big Mac itself. However, there are signs that the Big Mac spot at the top of the mountain may be at risk. Reportedly, and tragically, only 1 in 5 millennials has ever even tried the sandwich, which can be blamed on a lot of things, not the least of which is that a Big Mac costs a fair bit more than a pocket full of nickels nowadays. Still, when you want the maximum possible amount of hamburger in the smallest possible package, the Big Mac is second to none. So what do you think? Is the Big Mac the best burger of all time? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other weird history food videos.